Good evening. We'll go ahead and call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for March 29th, 2012. Before we actually start, I just want to explain that this meeting is being audio taped, but not videotaped. Due to unforeseen circumstances with our contractor, we're unable to have the visual part of it. So it will be available via podcast afterwards, and I would hope that they'll make some sort of an arrangement to maybe get it on Channel 6 as well. But it will be audio taped. So with that, we will begin with the roll call.
Mayor Ron is absent tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Seneca?
Here.
Trustee Emmer? Here. Trustee Fleming?
Here.
Trustee Klebanow?
Here.
Trustee Nero?
Here.
Trustee Scott?
Here.
Manager Searle?
Here.
Attorney Zemanek?
Here.
Acting Finance Director Parker? Here. Police Chief Mulhern? Deputy Liquor Commissioner Gunter?
Here.
Acting Fire Chief Weiss?
Here.
Acting Community Development Director Malik? Here. Human Resource Director Casey? Here. That's it.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Village Board minutes. Board to consider approving the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held March 15th, 2012, and the Village Board meeting of March 19th, 2012. And I believe we got some late corrections that I assume will be corrected for Monday?
Yes.
They're already done. Okay, they're already done. So that will be on for Monday. Open forum. We have one open forum this evening. Bob Mueller of Westmont regarding home rule, and we just respectfully request that you keep your remarks to 3 minutes or less.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be right about 3 minutes. Okay. With the 2010 census, Westmont fell below the required 25,000 population to have home rule. When this came up at a prior board meeting, the board was made aware of the situation. At that time, Mr. Zemanek cited the law saying home rule would need to be voted on at the next election. The next election was on March 20th, 2012. The referendum was not on the ballot as required by law. Emails were sent to the board requesting information on why this referendum was not on the ballot. The only response was an email from Virginia saying Ron would get back to me when he got back to the office. In typical male macho fashion, I was informed by Mr. Zemanek in the men's room that the board has appealed the census. That is their justification for claiming that the referendum did not have to be on the ballot, that they would be able to keep home rule for another 7.5 months, even though they do not have the required population. The lawyers on the board are probably aware that appeals are rarely an excuse to block issues such as the required referendum. Therefore, it is recommended that Westmont no longer act under home rule. All ordinances passed under that guise should be considered null and void, and the police department should start destroying any and all personal information gathered under such guise. This primarily applies to what is commonly known as the landlord ordinance. Continuing to act under home rule will be looked at as a civil rights violation that may result in a federal complaint against the board. Please give this further consideration and keep me informed of how you plan to proceed. Thank you.
Mr. Mueller, thank you for your comments. I'd like to ask Attorney Zemanek to perhaps say a few words on this.
Well, first of all, I take serious exception to your comment about our conversation in the restroom, where I politely asked you whether you had received a response from the village manager that he had been out, that I've been in the hospital with my son, and I apologized to you that we had not responded yet. And you responded by attacking the village's actions. To pin that on me, then, I think is completely irresponsible.
You are the lawyer for the board. That is your responsibility. Thank you.
Secondly, I told you that that I did provide an opinion to the board, that it's supported by the law, and that we'll get that opinion to you so you have the facts that I have shared with the board.
I will appreciate that.
If you don't agree with that, then that's your opinion, but we'll get that information to you in due course.
I hope to have it real soon, like within a week. Thank you.
Well, you certainly can do a FOIA request if there's a public document, which I don't believe there is, but I believe your email came in within the last week or so.
Yes.
So we'll do our best to answer you in due course, but to attack the board as non-responsive or to attack the village manager, I don't believe is acceptable under the circumstances, sir.
I would just like to point out,
This is
too,
a
when
major
I
issue
saw
with
your
home rule.
email, Mr. Mueller, I was about to go into the hospital in a surgical procedure last week. I apologize an answer didn't come to you in a timely fashion under which you expected it, but we try to do our best, and we will respond to you.
I see 11 people on this board, plus the police chief, the fire department. Everybody got a copy of that email. If
Mr.
somebody's in the
Mueller,
hospital,
you'll get a response as provided. Thank you.
it's well overdue. The people of Westmont should have gotten the response.
It'll be due within a week, and that's how long ago you sent the email, Mr. Mueller.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to reports.
Yeah.
The mayor's does have a report that on Monday, Community Unit School District 201 will be here to do a presentation on anti-bullying campaign, which will begin right away in April. So they will be here on April 2nd for that very important presentation. Other than that, the mayor did not leave anything else for us this evening. The clerk.
I just want to share some sad news. Cheryl Jordan, the wife of Dennis Jordan from the Westmont Pharmacy, passed away on March 24th. So my condolences go to Dennis. I've dealt with him for many, many years. And that's basically all I have to say, except I do have good news that Ann Miller is now out of the hospital and doing better.
That's great news. Thank you. Anything else?
Nope.
Attorney Zemanek.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Manager Cyril.
Thank you. Just a couple things I wanted to introduce. Tonight we have some members from a newly formed group called the Westmont Renaissance Alliance. I'd like to invite them to come to the podium, and they want to introduce themselves and the purpose of their organization.
Does the overhead work?
Yeah,
It should, yes.
It'll go on automatically.
Okay.
Do we have someone in there that can do it?
No, it won't.
How automatically?
He's going to go in there and see if he can get it going. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Okay. Oh, I can go ahead and start. Last spring, Mayor Rahm called for interested residents to join a downtown focus group. The first meeting on Wednesday, July 20th, was just the beginning of what we proudly call Westmont Renaissance Alliance. From that moment on, we gathered every month to share our passion for downtown Westmont. We agreed upon the name, designed a logo, hammered out bylaws, developed a mission statement, created a website, a Facebook with over 130 members, a Twitter, and a blog. Let me introduce the members of WRA. Only one of our co-chairs is here tonight, Robert Plowman. Audrey Payne is sick. Our research expert, Mike Cosentino. Our communications guru, Jason Picard. And our newest member, Bob Mackert. Is it going to work yet?
I think he's still.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
It's coming on. Once it says no signal, that means it's coming on.
We'll be done.
Yeah, when it says no, it really means yes. It's going to be happening.
Okay. The mission statement of WRA is to promote the renaissance of downtown Westmont by working with business owners, local government, and residents of Westmont to foster economic development, encourage patronage, and enhance the sense of community in the heart of our city. Our goals are to help current and potential business owners to work with the government. There you go.
Got it.
Great.
To be a resident advocate for downtown development, to offer clear and unbiased feedback to village government from business owners and residents, to create transparency of government access that affects downtown, and above all, to promote Westmont. Here's a quick glimpse of our website, our Facebook, and so on. Do you have any questions?
It's a great group, great organization. You guys have a lot of energy and one very familiar face around, many familiar faces, great volunteers. So
We're ready to get started.
Yeah.
Anything the village can do for you.
Yeah, how do you need,
Pardon
what
me?
help do you need from us?
How can we help you?
Well, actually, you can help us by we plan on communicating directly with you and just hearing us out. And if you can kind of keep an eye on our Facebook, we'll be throwing out poll questions such as what do you want to see in your downtown, what interests you, what doesn't interest you. It's going to be open and honest feedback, and that's what we're looking for. I'm just kind of glad that we have such a and you should be at some of these meetings. These are incredible with these people who are just as passionate as anything about this town, and we believe that there's so much potential here, and we're just we're kind of tired of just seeing it just stagnant. So we want to get the energy downtown. We want people to start getting excited about downtown. We've also talked about having certain events like maybe a what do you call it, Blue Saturday event, after Black Friday, possibly doing some Christmas wrapping and that for stuff that's bought here in town. Maybe some fundraising efforts to get Christmas lights back into downtown, because it looked like we left for the holidays last holiday. So, it's stuff like that to kind of promote our village and get, the traffic downtown. So we're partnering also with the Westmont Special Events. We will be present at some of the what the French Market and the cruising nights and
wonderful.
Things like that. So,
great.
We're willing to help. Help us.
Change doesn't happen until the public really gets involved, and that's what you guys are doing. So we appreciate what you're doing also.
And I find there's probably going to be because there's a lot of perceptions, and that's one thing that we learned too. I heard this about the village, or I heard about this business or this ordinance or whatever. So I think just having a group of residents who are passionate about the village with kind of the political aspect and the business aspect out of it might give you guys what you need, the clear,
good buffer.
Honest feedback.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, have you all been following the group who's dealing with our comprehensive plan, as well as the group who is looking to put the TIF overlay in the downtown district? Are you working with them also?
Yes, several of our board members actually took part in that comprehensive plan meeting. And I'm sure you see a couple of familiar faces that are now at the zoning meetings and the village meetings as well. So we're just trying to take an active approach to getting involved. So.
Well, it's so much appreciated. I know you're putting a lot of time into it, and it's not like you're drawing a big salary doing this. You'll get a lot of thank yous, but sorry, that's about all.
We're not getting paid?
So thank you, and I would just assume that you'll probably give us like periodic updates and things. And again, just to kind of echo Trustee Scott, if you need anything from the village board, feel free to reach out to us individually or as a board, however we can help. We're just very, very happy that you're in that position, and I think it's a great and very dynamic group. So we look forward to your success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add, too, they provided a lot of good input already in some of our work on the new design of the website with some pretty interesting, insightful comments. Next, I wanted to mention that on Monday night we're going to have a championship team here, a team that you've heard from in the past. It's our Westmont Water Division Westmont Crankers. I won't say anything more than that at this point, but they will be here on Monday for a special recognition. And I would like to introduce our acting finance director, Spencer Parker, who's going to talk a little bit about a new GASB pronouncement, GASB 54, and the implications it's going to have on our budget process as we go forward.
Right, you have in front of you a memo which will go into a little bit more detail than I'm going to go into right now, but basically this is a pronouncement we became aware of with our new auditors. As the board's well aware, we recently selected some new auditors. We sat down and had a meeting with them, and this is one of the issues that they raised. Just wanted to kind of draw your attention to some of the changes that are happening with GASB 54 and some of the impacts that we'll have to take into consideration. So basically what it does is it classifies fund balance, kind of like what's left over, what we're keeping, as 5 different things. Non-spendable, so things like a road, which you can't spend at all. Restricted, and that's when an outside party or legally we can't use it for anything except specified purposes. Committed, which is done through action by the village board. Assigned, which is done by somebody who's authorized by the village board, so it's a little bit less binding. It can be changed a little bit easier. And then the rest is unassigned. The major implication is that it's also changing the way that funds are reported, because now they're saying special revenue funds can only be those that are committed, so done by official action by the village board, or restricted by an outside party. And so you'll see under the section of actions to be considered by the board, the first thing to do is we need to delegate authority to assign fund balance to somebody. Typically it's done by the finance director, sometimes also done by the village manager. And the way we would do it is, we'd have an item on, not on Monday's agenda, but on the following board meeting's agenda to delegate that authority. And then, of course, if any funds are assigned, then the board would be notified. And it's basically for accounting purposes. So when the auditor says, according to this new pronouncement, these sort of funds need to be assigned, are they assigned? Then we can say, yes, they're assigned, and they'll be assigned. Then the next thing to consider is our convention tourism fund. And in order to keep it as a separate fund, we would need to commit a certain revenue towards it. Right now we've had for the past several years, as long as I've been here, since we've had rent coming up the Westmont Center, and the Westmont Center is part of the convention tourism fund, we've had that rent money going in to support the Westmont Center. In order to continue that and to keep it as a separate fund, we would need the board to have an action officially committing that money to fund convention tourism purposes, including the Westmont Center. So to keep that fund, that's what we'd have to do.
Spence, would the hotel motel tax also go into that fund?
It could, at the board's direction at this point.
But it doesn't have to.
At this point, it does not have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. Right now, it does not have to. With regards to the Special Reserves Fund, that's a fund that the past several years the board has sort of designated as a separate fund, kind of a rainy day fund. Our recommendation and the auditor's recommendation is that we simply roll that into the general fund, and then we can continue reporting on it separately, looking at it separately at budget time, but then in our actual CAFR would be part of the general fund. In order to keep it a separate fund, we'd have to do two things. We'd have to set up a certain revenue that we say all this revenue goes into this special reserves. And then we'd also have to say specifically this is exactly when it will be used. So it wouldn't give the board in the same level of flexibility that we have right now. So in order to maintain that flexibility, our recommendation is just to let it roll into the general fund for accounting purposes. Another item that recently came up at the last Public Works Committee was payment for removal of trees, and it was mentioned that we should probably designate that money to be used to fund future tree replacements. And that can either be done at the board level with committing it, or with whoever you authorize to assign it, they can simply assign it. Either way is fine. It doesn't require any action at this point, but if the board is interested in doing that, we could have an action to officially commit those revenues. And then sort of any other special revenues that we want to designate, specifically the board would have that right and opportunity, but nothing else is required at this point. And then I've just got several things that I'm not going to go into all the different kinds of revenue, but it goes through the different funds and different revenues and kind of how they'll be reported under the new method. But the main issues we wanted to bring to your attention, kind of let you know that we will probably want to put some items on the next Committee of the Whole's agenda would be for delegating authority to assign fund balance, and then for the Convention Tourism Fund to commit the revenues from Westmont Center rent. I don't know if there's any questions on that. Okay.
Thank you.
And we'll have those items on the next Committee of the Whole agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer.
That's all I have.
Executive session?
It's like an executive session for personnel.
That's what I
Thank
thought.
you.
I read your mind. Executive session for the purpose of personnel.
Thank you.
Trustee items. Trustee Nero.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes, Monday at 6 o'clock, we're going to have a Building and Zoning Committee meeting before our board meeting. So hopefully you all can make it Monday.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock, right here.
Trustee Fleming.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Trustee Scott.
Thank you. Want to let everybody know that the Economic Development Committee meeting for next Wednesday has been canceled due to a lack of an agenda, but hopefully next month, or the month after, there'll be something. I want to remind the public that the Chamber is having their annual awards dinner next Thursday at 6 p.m., and their ticket's still available, so you can call the Chamber office and if anybody wants to go. And last, I'd like to wish Haraldson's Garage a 60th anniversary in town. They're the second oldest business in Westmont, and Monday's their 60th anniversary, so congratulations to them for staying in Westmont all these years and being a valuable business to us. And that's it. Thank you.
Trustee Emery.
I kind of take this this part of the meeting for the opportunity to say things not only in congratulations and thanks to people, but to bring things up, and tonight's one of those nights. We just heard from our new Westmont Renaissance Alliance, and they're doing well, and we hope that they continue to do well. And we have so many volunteers with the WSEC, and we have the Downtown Business Alliance, and we're working on a comprehensive plan and the TIF overlay and the 63rd Street corridor TIF, and there's a lot going on, and we're hoping for snowball effect and all of that. So over the course of history, the board has, and it precedes most of us on the board, stepped away from micromanaging what came into certain zoning areas of town because apparently the prior boards did not want to spend all of the time looking at minutia. But I'd like staff to consider coming up with ideas for us to rein it back in, because when we have so many volunteers and so much work going on and dedicated residents and dedicated funds to doing a lot of positive change, and I'm going to go after a couple business owners here, and it's not personal, but when all of a sudden a sign goes up that says Hookah Buzz in the middle of downtown, or Rocky's Head Shop, or people come into Westmont and they spend between $300,000 and $400,000 on a condo at Richmond Station, and we welcome Westmont Home Improvement, but now we've got this banner that's just about covering up the whole facade that these people paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a nice facade. I want to rein this stuff back in. There are too many people working way too hard to have a few things potentially derail it. So I would like staff to consider ways that to come to the board for us to look at things. And I don't want to micromanage, none of us do, but I don't want these things that residents come up to me and say, how did this happen? Where did this come from? When did you approve that? And I look at them and I go, good question. So could we have, at the next committee of the whole, an agenda item to discuss how we manage certain things? And, we all know what Hookah Buzz is, and those guys that own it and their friends and family, yeah, they can go in there and have a good time, but the sign is very misleading. The sign is very caustic for what we're trying to do. So I'd like something on the agenda in 2 weeks.
Sounds like a plan. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. And really, the only thing I have is just to remind everyone that we have 2 more Fridays with the Fish Fry at the Knights of Columbus, so it's a great family outing. I urge everyone to go there and have a great dinner. Also, as Trustee Scott mentioned, Thursday, April 5th, is the Community Awards that the Chamber hosts every year. Various businesses, and there's the Dick Bussey Award and a number of different awards. But the award that the Village actually sponsors is Citizen of the Year. And we just have so many marvelous and worthy residents of that award. This year we have 4 nominees. Chris Vitak, who I see in the back of the room, Ron Gunter, Don Boringer, and John Chorney. Just 4 marvelous, incredible volunteers. So one of them will be your Citizen of the Year, and I urge everyone to come to the event if they possibly can. And that's all I have, so we will move right on to unfinished business.
Mayor Pro Tem, Shannon approached the microphone. She had something she wanted.
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to address some of Trustee Emery's comments. I will speak for staff in the opinion that we currently are very excited to have a very pro-planning board, and some of the sentiments that you have are some of the same that we have, and we're putting a lot of effort into our planning studies. We've invested in these things and hope that they're really going to shape the future of what's to come over the next 10 to 15 years or so. So we certainly don't want those to be documents that get put on a shelf and ignored. That being said, the examples that were mentioned, and perhaps you or John Zemanek might be able to piggyback on one of the concerns with signage. We do have some regulations that we have to follow as far as First Amendment rights go. We have to always be content neutral. So while we may not like what a sign says or what it looks like, what we can do from a regulatory perspective is sometimes somewhat limited. Size, where it goes, those are things that we certainly can weigh in on and try to. But there's kind of a fine line as far as what can be done with the message that's conveyed. One of the other issues that was brought up, and we're excited to hopefully be bringing before you, Deputy Chief Gunther and I and some other staff members have been working towards putting together, as well as Attorney Anne-Marie Zemanek. Anne-Marie Perez, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, John, have been working very hard on putting together a draft ordinance where tobacco businesses would be licensed similarly to liquor establishments, because what we're finding is that we've got one and now we've got a bunch of other inquiries, and they sort of, just one comes in and others are interested after that, and we're getting a ton of requests for that. So that should probably be coming at the next meeting, next committee of the whole is what we're shooting for. That, and then the banner on Richmond Station. Rogue banner, no permit. Staff's working with that particular business owner. They got board approval to go in with that use and did not get a permit. So we will work towards resolving that. But we're happy to have a sit down and discuss some of the ideas that the board may have to get to your main overarching points.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Shannon, can I ask, what are you doing now about all the requests that are coming in then?
By right, if an establishment applies and they comply, or they apply for a business license and they comply and it's an appropriate zoning district, we've been grilling them to make sure, that the offerings that they have for sale are strictly tobacco products. If it's accessories and things like that, the deputy chief and I have tried to have conversations about that. We're trying to, we have 1 or 2 pending right now, so we're just trying to work towards getting that draft ordinance before you guys, before any additional stores have opened. So,
and if it were to be located in the central business district, that requires a development permit, so it comes before you anyhow.
Anyway.
One of the ones that's pending is actually in the central business district. So we have that opportunity to get it scheduled at a future meeting.
That's good for us now, but for the rest of the town, it's not.
Right, precisely.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Thanks for that update. Okay, unfinished business, WSAC Westmont French Marketplace Traffic Plan 2012. Board to consider an ordinance approving a staff-developed traffic plan for the 2012 WSEC Westmont French Marketplace event.
Hello.
Thank you, Larry McIntyre.
All right. I will begin the presentation, and I'll turn it over to Chief Mulhern and possibly Chief Weiss as they talk about the specifics of the actual traffic plan. But first I wanted to begin with a little bit of a layout map here of how the actual French Marketplace might look. We were before you 2 weeks ago talking about the south 1/3 of the Cass Burlington parking lot, and it was recommended we find another spot that does not take up prime real estate parking for the downtown businesses. And so we discussed the idea of West Burlington. And so that's closing off West Burlington Street from Cass Avenue over to Lincoln. The closure would begin at 2 p.m. And the French Market actually potentially would not begin until 4. Some of the vendors need that type of time to get set up. And so the actual French Marketplace, potentially the hours that we're looking at right now are 4 to 8. But we are asking for this closure from 2 to 9:30 so that we have flexibility to work with our vendors, do the complete closure the way we need to. Here on the south side of Burlington, this is all closed, so no vehicle access will be going through Burlington Street. But on the south side of the street, this is where we're thinking will be 10 by 10 tents. And if we squeeze them in, we can get 15 tents from Cass Avenue to this egress right here. It's a pedestrian egress where commuters are getting off the train and walking up to the street. And so that's going to be their main egress from the train to the French Marketplace is right here. And so we think we can get 15 there if we squeeze them in. If we give a little bit more space, it'll be more like 10. So then maybe you put 5 over on this side of this pedestrian egress. And so that would be considered west of the alley, which is right here. These 2 green spots right here, this is all tentative, but we're thinking maybe we put our 2 anchor vendors, so to speak, here, and that would be our farmers. And so the farmers would be here. They would also bring their own tents. 10 by 10s. One of the farmers has already requested that they want to bring 3 10 by 10s to take care of all the things that they are looking to do. This blue square here represents where we think we want to put our WSEC 10 by 10 tent, and that will be for information as well as kids crafts. And previously for cruising nights for the past several years, we've had kids crafts up on Irving, but we're thinking let's move it down here, make it part of the French Marketplace, make this make it a draw. You know, if you have it there, then it's going to be bringing those families right on down, hopefully. Over here in the orange, you see this exclusive classic car club parking. This is all dependent on how many vendors we eventually get. My goal is between 15 and 20 total vendors, but let's say we can get all of our vendors on this side. We do have to close, it's the recommendation of staff that we close Burlington all the way to Lincoln, so then this would be hollow space. So maybe it's prime real estate for classic cars. And I'm in conversation with a group called the South Shore Car and Coffee Club. And these are folks that own $250,000 vehicles. And their club has about 40, 50 people. And I think I'm pretty close to talking them into coming to cruising nights at least 3 times a year. And so if they show up with their Lamborghinis and such right in here, we think that might be a fun attraction. And so that's, and if it's not that particular group, each week we have a feature model night. So then if it's a Pontiac night, maybe the Pontiac Club brings in their cars and they can be there. For a lot of the car owners, this is very much a social opportunity. And so if they get to park next to their friends and chit-chat, they're having fun, and then that provides the draw for the residents to come in and look at the cars. So that's sort of what we have for the layout for the French Marketplace. I'll let Chief Mulhern go into the street closures in more detail. Any questions on this part?
Larry, would the if you're going to have some of the cars at the far end of the market, are they going to come in and out from over by Lincoln, not through the aisle of vendors off of Cass?
It's sort of to be determined, but I know in my mind I'm thinking we're going to ask everybody to come from this side. You know, you do your closure here. It's going to be too hard to try to get people in and off of Cass.
Right.
So all of your vendors, all of your cars, we're going to ask all of them to come in from the west here. And the thing to remember is that the French Marketplace, those people show up around 2. They're completely set up and started at 4. Mm-hmm. Cars don't show up till 6.
Right.
So they'll definitely come in afterwards.
Are you going to have porta potties down there too?
That's a great idea. It's something that comes up every year. We do have ordinance that doesn't allow us to keep things on location.
Right.
If that could be part of this request where it's allowed for these events, I know a lot of the car owners would appreciate it.
I think we need it.
And we could probably work that out with Waste Management if we had the approval to do so. However, if Waste Management had to come and remove it on a weekly basis, we've looked into that, and that's cost prohibitive. We'd just have to say we can't do it.
Well, if, you know how to handle the details. I mean, lock them up and stuff like that, because we're asking for trouble if they're accessible when there's nothing else around.
Sure. So then the question would be, like, let's say we had some right here somewhere. Would we then move them off the street over to here? Want me to work with staff on that plan?
Probably not sitting out there all week. Probably somewhere, like along the alley or whatever. I mean, enough people use the alley even without the porta potties. So.
Right. Don't know if we want to promote
Sorry.
it. We'll look into options for sure. And that is a good suggestion. It comes up every year. It's just one that we haven't found a good answer for yet.
Okay. Larry, with the arts and crafts and the whole, vendor thing that's going to be on the south side of the street,
yes.
How will you clear those parking spots by 2 o'clock?
Probably similarly to the way that we do the cruising nights, and that is
signage.
You put up a paper signage notifying people that it needs to be no cars parking there. And we have enough leeway. We have enough time that we're thinking they'll move out within the time frame that we need to get in there. Plus, where this area is right here, there is no parking. So we won't have an issue there. On this side, most of these customers for these businesses, it's a pretty quick visit. I'm going in to pick something from the pharmacy, or I'm picking up my dog who's just been from the pet grooming,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's usually a pretty quick visit. And it'll take the public will take some time to get used to it.
Are we taking the assigned taxi spots that we have there?
I don't think so. It's my thought that those spots are over here. Is that accurate?
If they're not, I was going to say if they're not, maybe we could just move them for
They're
those
here.
days.
They're right
There
here.
might be a couple.
There's usually, I think there's 4.
left.
Right?
Towards the
There's
left,
some.
but you may be taking
Yeah.
some of them.
Just so we have something for them.
So maybe we put cones out and signage to save some spots over here for them?
Just to move them for Thursday nights.
Very good. And there's one other item which isn't on the request and the paperwork, but I did want to mention it. For rain dates, and this is something that Trustee Fleming has brought up for previous events. The French market is such, it doesn't generate a lot of money. We can't charge a lot of money. That's just the way that the nature of this particular situation. And so if someone buys, let's say, 4 weeks of time to come out, and 2 of those get rained out, they will have lost money. They won't come back. And so I think we'd like to request that those Thursdays continue tentatively through the end of September for rain dates. So if there's rain dates, we can continue on and invite those vendors back for a couple weeks so that they can make their money. If they're successful, they'll want to come back.
Yeah, so it still stays on Thursday. It just extends the season.
Correct.
Good.
If need. I have no problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that.
All right. And then
Great.
Chief has more.
The chief.
I will try to do justice. Director May came up with a traffic control plan. He is unavailable tonight, so I will do my best to fill his shoes.
Can I ask Larry one more question?
No.
The Thursday night that coincides with the taste.
Nothing's happening that night.
Tentatively, we're saying it will not happen that night.
Okay.
And I shouldn't say tentatively. We're not going to. I mean, it would be
Cruising's been
logistically
canceled
impossible.
for that night,
Yeah,
right?
and the French market will be canceled also?
It won't even be scheduled.
Okay.
That'll be a weekly schedule.
Okay.
Yes.
Staff was directed to come up with a traffic plan, and Larry did a quite overview. Staff met with the village manager 2 weeks ago to review this, and I'll try to go over what the traffic plan would be and some of the staff's concerns. You see there's an overhead, and what you're looking at is north here. This is the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks in this area. You're looking at Cass Avenue here to the north, and the area where you'd be closing off, which Larry already depicted as this area here. Lincoln is here, Cass Avenue here. Lincoln and Cass Avenue will be closed off by hard close barricades, as well as to the north wall of the uptown. Barricades would be put there as well, too, so you don't have traffic coming in from the alley and then having to back out the alley to get out to Lincoln Street. Also, you'll see we would have down here near the area to be determined, preferably by the Dallas or by 55th Street. The police department would use its portable electronic sign message board indicating that Burlington is closed ahead of road closures ahead. As you approach here at the grade crossing, we can't close the full left turn lane before Quincy Street because you do have cars that would come up here and want to turn left to go on Quincy Street, so we can't close in this area. However, from Quincy Street to the grade crossing itself, the Burlington or the railroad tracks, that would be closed off. Basically, the left turn lane would be gradually shut down, so everyone would have to merge to the right lane. And then as you cross the tracks just north, there's a spot for 1 or 2 cars. That, again, would be with barricades and cones and signage indicating no left turn. Traffic would have to proceed north on Cass Avenue. One of staff's safety concerns was this traffic pattern being this close to the grade crossing, traffic backing up, cars still wanting to make the left-hand turn when they can't do so. That's the potential hazard for being this close to the grade crossing. One thing we're trying to work on, Steve May is working on, is turning the left turn signal off, because as you turn into that left turn lane, you get a left turn arrow. We're trying to figure out how to turn that off or disable that during this event. We feel that that's critical as well, too.
Tape over.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be able. I won't be able to reach up and do that, but. The detours, again, would be for the Cass Avenue. Traffic would just proceed north on Cass Avenue. Southbound traffic would not be able to make a right-hand turn and go westbound on Burlington. Burlington would be closed from the hours Larry indicated from 2 until 9, preferably 9:30, depending on when the market closes. If they close earlier, we'd be able to open up the street earlier. And again, it would be a hard close on Burlington Street. One other detours and signage. Traffic control setup. We would begin setting up the barricades, setting up the sign closures. Street Department does have a crew on duty before 2 o'clock, so they could do that with on-duty or on work personnel. It would require, for safety's concern, we would want to either put our community service officer, Roseanne Terry, or a police officer on Cass Avenue to assist while they're setting up the barricades, so for the safety of all the street department personnel. And also on Burlington at Lincoln, we could put a car there for closure. Not so important because that can be done quickly. But just Cass Avenue is the one where we would want additional traffic control, or we would want somebody in the intersection of Burlington and Cass directing traffic while the barricades are put across to ensure a more efficient flow of traffic. Staff cost estimates. Again, the setup work would occur during normal working hours at no additional cost. It's estimated that 3 to 4 man hours would be needed for the setup for all things considered. If the removal of track devices can be accomplished by the Emergency Management Agency in cooperation with the Westmont Police Department, then no additional overtime costs would be experienced by Public Works staff. If, and this is saying if removal is done by Public Works staff, then the 2 staff at 2 hours would be required to move the barricades off Cass, which would cost me a cost of $160 a week. But there again, we'd have to work with EMA if they're available, as well as trying to get maybe the Special Events Commission can also help in removal of the traffic. That's not preferred, but if as a plan B had to be done. Being this many traffic cones and this traffic, what we do in other special events is street department will set it up or leave the barricades there. Officers may actually put the barricades up, put the traffic control devices up. At the end of the event, go and take them down. Because of the amount on Cass Avenue and at Lincoln and trying to open us at the same time, we may not have personnel available, depending on our call load. We would assign to have an officer there. EMA can do traffic control, but it would be beyond the capabilities of us to be able to take all that traffic control down. A lot of times what we will do, rather than have street department personnel come out, is we will just remove the traffic control devices from the roadway, put them on the parkway, and then the next morning, street crew comes and cleans everything up. The event signage, we would put locations at Burlington and Lincoln, Burlington and Warwick, Cass and Norfolk, Cass and Dallas, indicating that the road ahead, Burlington Avenue, is closed. It would be something along the lines of Westmont Cruise Nights, French Marketplace Thursdays in downtown Westmont, to let the people that come through the area know that there may be some type of congestion, some type of traffic there. We would request that EMA, if possible, be there on site to direct traffic at Burlington and Cass, as well as at Cass and Irving, which is also closed down for cruising nights. That has been going on for, I think, the past year and would still continue. And I'll let Acting Chief Weiss address the issue of the EMA because that's his personnel. Material costs and estimates. We believe all traffic management signs and barricades exist with no additional cost to Public Works. Any event signage that needs to be created would have to be created by the Public Works, and they're still estimating that cost at this time. One other thing, I guess a close-up here would go to show, if you're looking at Cass Avenue here, Burlington, this would be the hard closure right at this location here. But again, we would put no left turn signs just north of the grade crossing, and again, the left turn lane would be narrow to keep the right-hand traffic even going north on Cass. One other issue here, which was staff concerns, traffic coming on Burlington Street, coming east on Burlington Street, will be detoured into a residential neighborhood. They will be detoured on on Lincoln Street north to Norfolk, because Irving Street is going to be closed here because for the cruising nights. So anybody coming in this direction, coming east on Burlington, is going to have to go north on Lincoln to Norfolk and come back down. Our staff recommendation also is along at Grant Street and also at Washington Street. We put signage there as well indicating that Burlington is closed east of Lincoln. A lot of time we have cut-through traffic or traffic. They'll come down Ogden to Grant Street. They'll come to try to avoid the backed-up traffic on Cass. If they hit here, now they're coming all the way down south. They're going to have to go all the way back north, and we would like to try to alleviate their frustration as much as possible. Again, staff's only concern, main safety concerns was the closing of a roadway so close to a grade crossing. However, we are able to do it with Cass Avenue for the Taste of Westmont and for certain parades for short periods of time. That's just one concern. We won't know what to experience unless we try it. If we see there's a safety issue, we would address that right away and or talk to event organizers and come back in front of the board with a different suggestion. The detour of traffic into the residential neighborhood should be taken into consideration, and I can let Larry tell you about the notification he made to the residents in the area this week. And then also there will be some confusion with this new traffic pattern. People who are, used to going through, especially during rush hour traffic, keep in mind this will be occurring during rush hour, at the height of rush hour. We really don't know what to expect. There's congestion down there now. Until the new pattern becomes accustomed to people or people know that it's there and are prepared for it, there may be some confusion, and we just need to address that as much as possible.
I think an issue might be people that are picking up commuters. The 5:25 train stops, and they're expecting their ride where it's blocked off. So now I don't know how we communicate to those people.
They can see from what's blocked. If you get off the train, you can see that where it stops. And that's,
I'm not as worried about the people getting off the train as the people that are picking them up.
Sure.
And
there'd be
plenty of parking going all the way down west, too.
Right. Yeah, they would just have to figure out how to get over there.
Yeah.
If they're going north, they'd have to go up to Norfolk. They can come back down Lincoln or go over the Grant. Again, too, as they become more accustomed, they'll realize, okay, on Thursdays I can't go that way. Maybe I go to Fairview and I come into the
It'll be a 1 or 2 week learning curve,
Yeah.
and after that it'll be just routine.
Correct.
Are you comfortable with the way that Larry has this set up, that in the event emergency vehicles have to get through, the barricades can be moved and the width will permit?
I see my partner sneaking up behind me.
Yeah, my concern was an
behind you.
ambulance or a huge truck. If
I'll let
acting
Chief White. I'll relinquish the podium
I
to
was
Acting
going to
Chief
say,
White.
you'll give up the podium?
Thanks, Chief.
Good job, Acting Chief Weiss. You
Thanks.
cleared the podium.
We've addressed that staff from the fire department along with Larry and Police Chief Maher. They're going to allow a 10-foot wide emergency access down West Burlington for us. And that was only one of our concerns, is getting emergency vehicles in there. If we have an EMS call in that area, we can do that from either Cass or Lincoln or come down the alley. But if we have a fire in one of those buildings, we're going to need to get vehicles moved in front of those buildings and stuff, and we'll be able to do that. So we addressed that. The other safety concern that the fire department brought forward is, as you know, we do a lot of calls responding across those tracks all times of the day, and now it's going to add to our response getting across those tracks and all the people and the cars and things. So we may have some longer responses going north or coming south, only because of the backed up traffic and the pedestrians that are going to be there. One of the other areas that we have a concern is we're working with EMA, and we have one of our deputy coordinators here, Greg Pankey, tonight. They were trying their best to get as many EMA volunteers as they can. They do have some issues on cruising nights, getting the required ones that they need for cruising nights. Along with Larry, we're trying to recruit more volunteers from the village to possibly help out with just this event. We're going to work on that, and along with EMA, we're going to try and get as many volunteers as we can from EMA to come back to help. But we will need, and I do agree with Police Chief Mulhern, that we will need EMA members, on that cast in Burlington there, and maybe down by Irving, maybe even up by Quincy. So we're working on that, and we'll try our best.
What about Lincoln and Burlington?
Well, we're going to monitor that and see how much traffic comes east on Burlington that's going to go north on Lincoln, and if it gets to be a lot, then that's another area we like that. But we thought that intersection was the least amount that we needed right now.
And I think in the traffic flow, someone coming up, they only have one option. It's either turn left or make a U-turn and go back around. U-turn is not. They want to get to Cass or go north. With Cass and Burlington, there's more chance you have more options, more chance for confusion. That's why we'd like to have somebody out there actually directing traffic, guiding. I think Lincoln and Burlington will be able to control itself.
I mean, if you have the closures that we have for the Taste of Westmont, and people are used to it, and it's now a success taking it a lot through residential areas. 1 or 2 weeks?
It's going to be.
We think, yes, once people come through
I should say that.
Right. Or if someone says, if I'm coming through, I may know that if they're on Thursdays,
Right.
I'm not coming downtown to that area. If I need to get up to Cass and Ogden, I will find an alternate route rather than going that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's not our goal, but we also know, too, that it's reality in life and people will do that.
Okay.
Could I ask, is it possible or feasible that instead of closing up West Irving, that you close up the half a block on East Irving, and that way people coming eastbound on, and have to go north on Lincoln, they don't have to go 2 blocks all the way up. They can actually, and that's 2 blocks up and bothering a neighborhood, that they could actually turn down Irving to get southbound onto Cass?
I did ask that question of Steve May, and it's actually his preference to take it up to Norfolk, and the reason is because then you have the traffic light to get back to Cass. And so that was his preference. In fact, it was even his preference to keep Irving closed to prevent people from trying to do that. And so with our cruising nights plan that was approved, both East and West Irving are closed to the alleys, and we're expecting great success this year. And so we're pretty certain that both of those areas will be used to their full capacity. So so between the cruising nights plan as well as what Steve May asked for, that was the reason to go to Norfolk.
Yeah, because trying to make a left-hand turn, that's really going to...
Well, I was thinking of signage saying southbound Cass, turn here, northbound, Cass, go to Norfolk. But I was just trying to keep every car from having to go 2 blocks down through private neighborhoods if possible. But
don't forget, you got a crosswalk. A lot of people are crossing at that intersection there too. So how much aggravation would that be for people trying to turn right?
Okay.
And then
Might
people
actually
trying
make
to
it
cross.
unsafe.
I didn't realize they were going to close up both sides.
And your sight lines at Irving is not as great as you would at Norfolk. I've left trying to stop there after lunchtime, trying to make the left to go north on Cass, and it's not easy because if you have cars parked there, your sight line looking to the south is not very great compared to where you have it at Norfolk. Norfolk, you have the intersection with traffic control and you have better visibility.
Okay. Any other questions? I see EMA folks in the back there. Any comments from our EMA folks? Anything they want to add? Which we appreciate your volunteerism more than you could possibly know. You guys are phenomenal.
I believe everybody knows me. I am the Deputy Coordinator of Operations for Emergency Management, Greg Pankey. I have had concerns about supplying manpower for the 12-plus weeks during the summer for cruising nights. In the past 2 years, I've been in charge of that, securing manpower for cruising nights. We do have some problems just securing the 3 people that we use now or in the past to do that, 2 at Irving and 1 at the crosswalk. With the closure of West Burlington, the WSCC is asking for 2 to 3 more people to cover. In my conversations with Acting Chief Weiss, I cannot guarantee over the course of the duration of French Marketplace that we will be 100% able to provide that manpower. It's possible, yes, but I cannot guarantee it. And in being not able to guarantee it, I have to approach it from that standpoint.
Deputy Chief Weiss, have you got Plan B then?
Well, Chief Mulhern and I talked.
Yeah, the trustees will be out there.
Chief Mulhern and I talked.
Dave and I will be out there. Burlington and Cass.
Actually, Larry and I had a conversation on the way in tonight and stuff, and we talked about possibly through Larry and the special events about promoting to recruit more, just for the market, to see if we can get some residents to come and assist and help with that.
Right.
Any other part of Plan B we talked about, I talked to my staff this afternoon. We would prefer to have 2 cars, one at Lincoln and Burlington and one at Cass and Burlington. Lincoln and Burlington, as we talked earlier, we can just open that up, leave that to last. We don't really need a car there.
Good.
If we have to, and we have either WSCC or somebody, 1 E or 2 EMA people moving the barricades, as long as we have 1 officer there to protect them, to be safety-wise, and for track control, we could probably do it with 1 car. If they're busy, then we just delay. We don't open the road until an officer can get there and open it up.
Okay.
Well, we think maybe 2 would be best, but let's say all the officers are busy on calls, we just delay it. We leave it there until it has to be.
That's good. Good. Any other questions from anyone, or any other comments?
One of the other things Larry and I talked about is maybe soliciting police and fire alumni members. Some of them are not EMA members. They're not part of special events. Yeah, and some CERT people to see if we can draw some people from there.
So we ensure we have enough people. Great. Thank you. Good plan. Looking forward to it.
I did have one final item to add to this. I apologize. Trustee Scott was asking about a Plan B, and I think I would like to mention the idea of having a Plan B. Let's say 2 weeks into this, we've closed down West Burlington, and we decide the safety issues. Let's say safety issues arise, and we decide that, people are getting hung up on the tracks or what have you. What do we do at that moment? We have to lock into 12-week contracts with a lot of these vendors. And I guess I would like to request, is it possible to have a Plan B location that if we try West Burlington and staff and the board decides that that's not going to work, can we then relocate to either our Plan A or move on to Plan C? And so I think that's valuable because we need to lock in the contracts. As soon as this is decided on Monday, Tuesday, we start calling these vendors and locking them in before they go somewhere else.
Sounds good.
So
makes sense, yeah.
Right.
Excellent.
I just like to make one comment. I want to give my thanks to the work and effort that's gone in to doing this. I know this is something completely different than what we've done in the past. But this being a new item, met with Larry on a Saturday morning as well as Robin, and I think it's something that we thought needed to be right up front, right there in front of the train station instead over in the back part of the parking lot or further away. Yes, it's thinking outside the box a little bit. It's a little bit different, but I think the effort in that going forward, and I have to agree, I'd say within 2 weeks' time, I don't think you're going to have a problem with the grade crossing. I mean, I think people have enough smarts not to park on the grade crossing or catch on quick. So I think going forward, and I think one of the other comments that was made, I'll throw this out on the table now and talked about it a little bit, but on squad car night, it's something I'd like to talk about too. I think Trustee Emery made a comment about possibly actually closing Cass that night for squad car night to make it easier because there's more people.
I know we've talked about that before, and that's probably not for an agenda item tonight, but I think we do need to talk about that. So park that somewhere, Larry, and I think it would be great to close Cass Avenue that night. And, here comes Mr. Califat. What can we help you with, sir?
Yes. Echo on Lee's. We did discuss this with the DWBA, and the downtown business groups really thought this French market was a great idea to bring in, especially on that Thursday night. And I thought at that time we were talking Burlington Avenue, the parking lot, but I think this is a great location. The other thing they really liked about it was separating them out so that you have to get that foot traffic from this French market up to the car show and get them walking down Cass Avenue. So the general consensus with the Downtown Business Alliance was great idea. So
good.
Can we use your bathrooms?
Pardon? I'm too far north, but yeah, I would open up for it. But and I'm not sure about porta potties sitting there for weeks at a time. So
we're going to address that.
Well, I had a talk today with Violet from Edward Jones, who's going to be definitely affected by this, and she's trying to think positive of it. And I said I thought it was kind of nice, the idea of trying to get people to come around the corner to see those businesses that totally get ignored during the taste and stuff. So she's trying to think of ways of that they could utilize and maybe do something, or seize the moment during that time. So at least I think that some of those on that side may have a positive, even though they're all losing their parking and their
And like anything
parking.
new, we have to monitor it and see how it works. I believe that Attorney Zemanek had a point.
I do. Just another boring question. For the ordinance approves the street closure as identified. It also, as currently written, approves a traffic control plan. If you look at the traffic control plan that was part of your agenda packet, it's draft, and there's some question marks in there, et cetera. Do you want me to put that a traffic control plan as determined by the Police Department, Public Works Department with input from WSEC, and not at this point attach an actual document?
Yeah.
Because
Police and fire.
Yeah.
Police and fire.
Police, fire, and WSEC. Public Works. Public Works, Police, Fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will do. Thank you.
That works
Thanks,
good.
John.
Okay. All right. I believe that's it for that. Okay, moving on. Westmont Special Events Liquor License Waiver. Board to consider an ordinance approving a special events liquor license fee waiver for the WSCC open house on April 18th, 2012 that no one wants to miss.
No questions.
No questions. Yeah, very simple and straightforward. We've done this before, and we're hoping to have an awesome open house. Hope that all of you can attend. And we're just asking for a liquor license waiver, beer and wine, live music, and lots of fun.
Okay, we'll be there, and hopefully a lot of people from the public. April 18th. What time is that?
5 to 8.
5 to 8.
Westmont Center, 1 South Gas.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Arts in the Park 2012. Board to consider an ordinance approving issuance of a license for amplified sound to the Westmont Park District during the Summer Arts Series consisting of live music, movie screenings, and live theater performances.
And this is very straightforward as well.
We like those.
Park District, working with Westmont Special Events, has concerts in the park, movies in the park, and then working with PVPN theater in the park. All the dates are listed in the calendar as well as in the materials that the board has received. The live sound ordinance is just to sort of cover ourselves in case sound travels beyond the perimeter of Ty Warner Park, but truthfully, it doesn't. So it's more of a matter of communication and just good communication with the village between Park District and such.
Right. Questions, anyone?
All right, thank you.
It's an easy one. Thank you. Number 5, variance request, 39 North Cass Avenue. Board to consider an ordinance approving request from West Suburban Funeral Home for the following: zoning code variance to increase the number of allowable signs, and zoning code variance to increase the maximum gross square footage of signage. Thank you, and thank you for coming back tonight.
Absolutely. I, again, just wanted to pass along a moment of sorrow for Will White, a longtime Westmont resident. It wasn't around for the last meeting. I don't know if that was discussed, but I just wanted to put that out again as well. As pointed out, I guess we are going to... Oh, no, I just have the obituary for Will White for anybody that wanted to see it.
I didn't realize that was what was on there. I thought it was an accident.
No accident.
Okay, all right.
So the kind of a deja vu of... I guess rehashing again what we talked about last time of signs that we've put up on our business. We kind of have signs that are under question on either side of our building. And again, why we put those up, again, we have a awning in front of our building which is being blocked by a tree where our actual lettering is, which makes it hard for just about anyone to find a business, let alone a business that most people don't want to enter in on a regular basis, just for, hello, how are you today? So signs been put up to kind of draw attention, I guess, new business to the village of Westmont, being that we are a little different than a typical funeral home, being a cost-efficient funeral home. It's hopefully going to be dragging in new business from surrounding communities. A lot of our business has not only been from Westmont, but also from surrounding communities that are looking for a low-cost option for funerals. As we know, everybody is looking for some deals. And in order to be recognized by not only Westmont residents, but those that are in other towns, signage kind of got put up to be put up to, I guess, show people where the building is. Again, to rehash, a lot of people have called on the phone during visitations where they are not sure where our building is, driving up and down Cass Avenue, and I say it's on the east side of the street, and there we don't see you. So that's kind of
Thank you. So how has this been modified from the last time you appeared before us?
Well, nothing has been modified, obviously, until we come to a conclusion of where we think it, as the actual signs have not been modified, but until we all come to agreement of what we're going to do. And I agree with
I can help with that. Maybe the question regarding square footage, how that you're proposing to change it.
Yes.
To the petitioner's credit, they have been in contact with staff to try to find a middle ground after the last committee of the whole meeting. And what we received was a better drawing showing the awning text. So that's been calculated at 19 square feet. And then they've proposed some changes to the 2 wall signs that were installed without the permits to reduce their overall square footage from 44 square feet each to about 24 square feet. So the total that they're proposing, if those changes are approved, would be, last time you saw the petitioners, the request was for 130 square feet. Today they're proposing 66 square feet, and 45 square feet is permitted by code.
For me, that's a wonderful compromise, and I thank you for it.
So it's still the total number of signs and the square footage overage, but there has been a significant reduction.
Okay.
Board comments?
Yep, I got one. I just happened to be standing out there on Cass Avenue the other day, looking north, okay? That sign on the side of the building there. As I'm looking, there's this rather large tree that has no leaves on it now. When it blooms, I don't care what you put on the side of that building, you're not going to see it. That tree is going to block the side of that building.
Okay.
I looked at it too, and I don't think that I don't believe Trustee Fleming means that it should then go up to like 200 square feet.
No.
So I think the sign's going to be black, but I think, I, for one, was not happy that despite our ordinances, the signs were put up in violation of our code. And I appreciate your reasons, but, we don't like that. But I think it's a good compromise to bring them down. And I would suggest, because we have a lot of businesses and that don't have sides of buildings to advertise on, and when they give their address, they say, I'm between, because some of them are very visible. I'm between Sweet Pea and, Karma or whatever. Or I'm right across the street from Vincetori. So rather than try to get, for directional purposes, use your neighbors, because everybody else does. I mean, they cite on ones that are very visible.
My question to you is, how am I, when people call in, you mean when people call me on the phone to say that? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so, like I say, I think the signs that are up there are too big, and because you're going to go down to just over what code is, I appreciate the good effort at compromise, and I'm for the compromise. So,
I do have a question for staff, and I know we've talked about this before, and forgive me because I honestly don't remember what we decided. But in situations where businesses, residents, whomever, take action without, getting the permit, they're not within the zoning code. They come to us, to ask for forgiveness instead of coming and ask for permission. And we sometimes, not always, but we sometimes reach an agreement and say, okay, this is okay. We're going to go ahead with it. It's fine. I really think we need to look at some sort of a fine, some sort of restitution, some sort of penalty for not following our basic law.
Well, look
if
at
you
the
will.
amount of time staff spent after the fact.
Exactly. So that's something we need to put out there in the future. It's
I agree
happening
with you.
too much.
Well, one of the comments was that he had said that the tree blocks the sign.
Yeah.
Could he, at his expense then, under direction of the staff, keep the tree trimmed so it doesn't happen?
Oh, that tree that I'm talking about going north on Cass, it's way bigger than that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to keep that trimmed.
It's real
on the
tall. I mean,
parkway.
it starts
What about the one in front of his place?
The one in front of his place is like a twig.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to the one that's right in front.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Yeah, but even
small.
it's a village property, you can't trim the tree.
No, they would have
Can't
to.
touch
They,
the tree.
that would be up to our forester to take care of that, and I'm not sure that he's going to hack these trees up. The other
I want our
thing,
trees hacked
and to Trustee Seneca's comment, the only thing that we have to make sure of going forward, and I agree with you 100% on this, because I mean we've looked at this a long time.
We've seen this a lot.
Okay, but we have to make sure going forward that anybody who is going to open a business or do it fully understands from our department, our building department, these are the rules, this is what it is. Don't step over these rules. If you do...
Right, and I agree with that. And I also think that any reputable, business is going to do their homework. What's required?
They should.
I don't do work on the house without finding out what's required. Bob doesn't like that because it's usually his requirement. He's got to do something. But, just something to throw out there and think about in the future.
Perhaps it's a good item for a building and zoning committee.
Yeah, let's get that on building and zoning committee, and we can
There
start
are
kicking
some
that around.
communities that, for example, double their permit fee in the instance where that occurs.
Absolutely.
I like that idea better than building in a fine where you don't have judicial process or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Shannon, just clarification. The square footage now, the awning is down to 19 square feet.
We got a better drawing to show what the true size of the text was, and it is 19 square feet.
And the two wall signs are 24?
23.75 each.
23.75.
Right.
And then we don't have any restrictions or really discussion where the wall signs are going to be located, how high, how low, and there was some discussion about that at the last meeting. My concern is that, well, we've got this tree, the applicant's going to have his approval, all of a sudden the sign gets moved way up top. Maybe you're okay with that because then it's visible. But if you don't want it above a certain level, then you should specify.
Well, when you look at it now where it is, if it goes up to level with the roof, it's just going to look, it's going to look like that's the name of the town.
So
good point, John.
So
we don't want I will leave it where it is.
Good. Yes, you will, won't
Yes,
you?
I will. Yes, I will.
I think if you bring it almost down to eye level on that side too, because the tree is going to bloom up higher, people might be able to see it.
Yeah, lower might actually be better.
He would need to play around to see what's the best vision. But I tell you, I told him I had no problems. I don't care what the sign is now. To me, it was fine. I can't tell you how many times I drove by it and never even saw the sign. I had to literally tell myself to look for his sign because it did not bother me. And and these pictures that are in here, when you see the massive Vincetori signs and you see all these other signs, his signs, what they are right now, I have no problems with. The only problem is it'd be nice if he came in and asked, permission, but I have no problems even with the size it is now.
Okay, so I guess without any other questions, anybody from the public or Shannon have anything
Just
else?
maybe one quick comment for the record. Did you have any idea of how quickly those changes could be made? Just so that we know when to
I guess I'm
expect
just
them.
I'll get in touch with you probably either tomorrow or Monday. I have to obviously
Get a permit.
Got to get that permit.
I have to get in touch with our, I guess,
Contractor?
Yeah.
Will it be in the
30
ordinance?
days, 60 days,
Yeah.
something like that.
Oh, yeah, within 30 days. Yeah,
Okay, within 30 days.
Yeah,
That's
within
good.
30 days.
That's great. Anybody from the public? I see we have other business owners. I didn't know if they wanted to weigh in on this. Okay. Thank you. It'll be on for Monday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 6, Special use request, 203 North Cass Avenue. Board to consider an ordinance approving the following request from K. Clay International Incorporated to operate an office with associated retail and storage in the B1 Limited Business District. A, special use permit. B, development plan. Thank you.
I'm Jeff Clay from K. Clay International. We've been here in Westmont for over 30 years now, and we're located at 245 North Cass. And it was started by my mom many years ago, and both my parents have passed away, and so I'm taking on the business. And so we're looking to get a little bigger place, and the building at 203 North Cass became available. And so we looked at the space, and it sort of fit our needs. It's a little different because right now it's sort of set up as an office, and we kind of envisioned that part of the front would actually be turned into a retail with storage underneath in the basement, and then the back part. I don't know if I can put this up, or do you have a copy of the floor plan?
Yes, we should have a copy in our packet.
Yeah.
And you can put it up there.
I don't know if you can see all that, but it's a little unusual building. It's kind of long and narrow, so it sort of presents a few problems, but the fact that it has its own parking spaces, I think that would be a real plus for us, and a little bit more visibility than our current location. So I think in our future plans, we'd kind of like to move towards more of the internet, but yet still keep the retail aspect there. So this building had a lot of storage that we could possibly handle internet transactions with, and access to Cass Avenue in Norfolk or Fork could be very useful for us for getting in UPS or something like that, for pickup. So, I guess currently we asked for a change of the zoning on it. It originally was zoned for pure office, I think, and so we wanted to convert it to partial office and retail.
And you're purchasing the building, correct?
Yes, that's right.
I believe I read that the building's going to need a lot of work. So what is your timeline to get the building up to code and ready to go in?
Well, I'm leased out in my current place till February, so.
Oh, so you have some time. You should be okay.
I didn't want to kill myself, so.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's zoned office, and gee, we have someone who's been a long-standing business and forever, it seems.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Who wants to put more retail in?
Yeah.
What a novel thought.
Really, we're so glad that you're staying in Westmont because, like I say, not when I was a kid because I'm too old, but it just seems like you've been there forever. Even when I lived in Clarendon Hills, you were there. So I'm so glad you're staying on Cass. It would be weird to not have your store there.
A couple of questions for you. You're going to keep the store in Naperville. Do you still have one?
Yes.
That's going to stay there?
Well, for the time being, if this really kicks off, I might combine them. So.
Is this your only business?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just going to be solely used for the dance clothing stuff?
Actually, the K. Clay International is going to rent from me.
Okay.
I purchased the building, and it's under a different corporation.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
It's kind of nice with the dance studio going in basically
it's
across the street.
It's going to be great.
So
it's going to work out real well.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of centralized with a lot of dance studios, and so the area kind of makes sense. So
we have several dance studios in Westmont, as you know.
I bought a lot of dance shoes in K. Clay.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I bought my mom tap shoes for her 75th birthday because she used to tap when she was a kid. And she put them on, and away she went. Clickety-click. And she's 92 now and can't tap dance anymore, but she still has the shoes.
I love it.
Well, we're hoping the new space will actually give us a little bit more room to stretch out. We're
Great.
kind of tight in there, and shoes do take up a lot of space. So, and this building had some nice areas for storage, I think.
So it'll work out well for you.
We couldn't really use the basement. It appeared like as is because, according to ordinance, if you use a basement, you have to have an elevator. So I think.
But you can use it for storage, for
right,
your things.
Yes, right.
Yes. Just can't have public access.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, so that should work well.
Yeah, so.
Does Shannon, do you have anything else to add to this?
There's ample parking there, and the only thing I guess I would mention is that we've encouraged the company to come talk to us about our facade grant program to
absolutely
exterior improvements and some of the interior work that's eligible.
Okay. And do your homework with Shannon on signage.
Okay.
That's really important.
Some of the neighbors will be disappointed that you won't be playing loud rock music.
No.
So if you want to, if you want to crank it up, just go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we are glad to have you. I think this will be an easy one for us.
Yep.
Anybody have any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yay.
Yay. We can move on. Variance request, 318 North Washington Street. Board to consider ordinance granting a zoning code variance from John and Karen McCurry to allow an encroachment into a required side yard setback. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen McCurry. This is my husband, John. We are requesting a variance to build a new garage in place of the current garage for a residence that we recently purchased. The current garage is in disrepair and basically unusable. The house was built prior to the current setback regulations, so the setback actually runs through our house. And we also kind of have an unusual situation because our lots run north to south that our house is on, and yet our address is on the east street.
So the required setback runs through your house.
Literally.
So you probably drew a line and you don't have any furniture on the one side of that. Right? Just kidding. It looks good. I know before planning and zoning they thought it was a good plan and that the garage is very attractive. Yep. How long have you lived in Westmont?
We are not even moved in yet.
So you're brand new to Westmont.
Welcome.
Great.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Westmont.
My brother's been a long time resident.
You come to all our wonderful events.
Thanks.
Glad to have
my
you.
My brother's lived here forever, and we're 4 blocks away from it
Right.
now,
We need volunteers. April 18th. Come to the open house. Get you guys active. Talk to them. It is a good plan. Anybody have questions? Staff have anything they want to add? This is an easy one. We will see you on. You don't have to come on Monday. We will vote on it on Monday, though.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
When you moving in?
Hopefully 2 weeks.
Okay.
We got the hardwood floors. We finished. We're waiting on the carpeting, and then furniture comes the next week. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Nice to have you in town.
If you have dogs, we'll like even more.
Yeah.
Because I'm that way. Like cats.
Or a cat. We like animals. We like pets, so we're pet friendly too. Okay, number 8, special use request, 251 West Ogden Avenue. Board to consider an ordinance granting a special use request from Clover's Garden Center, LLC, with Suburbanite Bowl Incorporated to allow an open sales lot to continue for 3 years. Yeah, we do this about every 3 years,
Every
don't we?
3 years.
Yes.
It sure went quickly.
We used to do it every year, and then we got smart.
No. Longer.
Should we do a 5-year?
Yeah, maybe we want to do this for 5 years.
We miss him. And we like your stuff.
I would
Grows
miss you.
crazy in our clay.
Thank you. Glad.
It's that time, huh?
So we're back again. Spring is springing.
sooner than later. Our last meeting I was here, I think it was about 85 at that night for the last zoning meeting. It's like June. But if you approve us to be back, we will be hopefully opening next week once the Suburbanite Bowl does a little paving, patching out there. We'll set it up and off we go. So it'll be pretty much the same as it's been before, the spring rolling into fall. We changed the dates a little bit on that so we could operate continuously. If the season was strange, we still may close for a month or so, and the heat of August is miserable out there on the asphalt. But we've enjoyed so much, of course, being part of the community, spring, fall, and Christmas time. And we survived a recession, and we're on the way back up, all businesses, so we hope.
Well, it's always very well kept and looks nice. You keep it very
Thank
nice.
you.
It's very appealing to the eye coming down Ogden, so
Thank you
good job.
very much.
I haven't.
hope so.
I've never heard of a problem. Has anybody?
No, never.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Never.
Not one.
I always wanted it's so quiet that I keep wondering when you're still there. I guess you must be doing okay.
Further?
Yeah, I think maybe we should just really,
serious.
truly
Do you want
consider
5
doing
years?
this every 5 years.
Do you want 5 years?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Great.
Fine with me.
If everybody's okay with that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Great.
Saved some ordinance.
Good.
Especially
You'll be on for
speed.
Monday.
Okay, thanks
They're
so
easy
much.
one. I like these
Appreciate it.
easy
Wasn't
ones.
that? See, you got 2 years by waiting a mere hour and a half.
See? Okay, moving on, number 9, zoning code text amendment. Board to consider an ordinance approving a text amendment to allow for updates to the sign code.
Okay. This item was prompted by initially actually a complaint about some downtown signage, and after receiving that complaint, staff talked to some of the downtown business owners and looked at our code a little bit more closely. And there's a portion of the sign code with exemptions which allow certain types of signage by right without any special permit or review process. And we found a few opportunities to try to facilitate a few additional flexibilities for our business community. So there are 3 text amendments that are before you this evening, essentially to amend the exemption section of our code. I feel like I can't see everyone on the left side as well, so I'm going to move over here a little. The first is technically open signage in windows is not allowed. So we looked at our code, we looked at what other communities are doing, and are proposing to allow for one open sign so long as it remains static, not flashing or blinking, for all businesses within the village. And there's a memo that follows after the first page of the agenda item in your packet, which, let's see here, amends the window signage section of the code to add that open signs of 3 square feet or less shall be exempt and are required to have a static display. Are there any questions on that type of signage? And then the next proposed amendment is to allow businesses in the B1 district to have what's typically referred to as a sandwich board sign or an A-frame sign. In this case, we would propose, I'll just read the proposed amendment. Sandwich board signs, also known as A-frame signs, are permitted only within the B1 business district. No more than 1 sign per lot is permitted, and they must be located entirely or partially on the sidewalk in front of the business, allowing for at least 5 feet of continuous sidewalk clearance, and shall not exceed 8 square feet per side and 4 feet in height. Signs shall be removed and stored indoors when the establishment is not open for business. Any signs encroaching on public right-of-way must comply with the village's indemnity policy. Sandwich board signs must be professionally made and maintained in good condition. Signs shall be of an A-frame design and properly weighted so as not to create a wind-blown hazard. Signs shall not have any nails, tacks, wires, or sharp metal edges protruding therefrom. Sandwich board signs must be located on the ground and not attached to any structure or person. And then finally, the third proposed text amendment is frequently in more urban areas. You walk down the street and you can see the restaurants. They've displayed a menu. Some of our businesses do that in the window. What we want to do is just allow that by right under certain circumstances. So what you'll see in the proposed language is that restaurant menu displays shall not exceed 4 square feet and shall be enclosed in a glass or plexi-type frame. One such sign shall be permitted per restaurant. So those are the 3 amendments, and just for the sake of the people that are left in the room this evening, this is an example of an open sign. There was some discussion at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting about whether it would allow for open neon. Currently, we are not proposing to, have it be closed or protected from the back. That's subject to further discussion as the board sees fit. This is a sample of a restaurant menu display. It's very tiny. Sorry. Thanks, Larry. There we go. Oops. And then finally, here are 2 examples of the types of sandwich board style signage that, we already see some people using. Again, we just want to make it so that technically if we get a complaint, we don't have to go out there with enforcement action. This is something that's suitable for a downtown central business district.
Great.
Any of these signs, especially like the open sign or these sandwich signs, do you see anybody that when we enforce this that they'll be in a violation, or are we covered pretty well?
That's a good question and something maybe we'd want to discuss. There are some businesses that I especially notice with the open signage that do have multiple signs. Another issue with them is that many of them are blinking. What our code calls stroboscopic, which is actually prohibited anyhow. It's just that we haven't taken enforcement action against those folks. Generally speaking, those are options on the sign, and you can flick a switch to hold the sign constant. So we are going to have to do some level of getting the word out and making sure that our business community knows of the changes, knows of the additional flexibility, but knows under what parameters that's being offered.
Shannon, I think we've talked about this before too. Businesses that put signs in their window that are very, very large that say things like, everything must go. I mean, they might not be closing. Floor sample sale, where it's there for month after month after month after month.
$250,000 winner.
Yeah, buy one, get one free. We're talking about the same place. Can we regulate that anyway?
We can. We currently have relatively flexible parameters. We allow, in the exemption section of the code, up to 60% of the square footage of windows can be covered with a paper or paper-like material. You'll see an example of that at one of the new tobacco shops on the south side of town, which is one that's kind of taken to the max of what you could do within the scope of the ordinance.
That's a lot. That's like you can't even see in there to know what's going on.
And a lot of that may have come from, historically over, I don't know, when zoning ordinances first went into place, a lot of grocers were using the big paper signs and everything to display their specials. Some towns have really cut down on the percentage of window signage, still allowing for it, but our percentage is relatively high.
Can we put that on a committee agenda to talk about more?
Because even the one down by us where it has the entire menu in neon, about 60 neon signs of every item on its menu.
Yeah.
We got to look at our sign code because we supposedly pay more attention to B1 business district, but we got some doozies out there.
We have a budding building and zoning committee agenda after tonight.
Good.
So
add it to it.
Thank you, ma'am.
We'll add that. And then the other point I wanted to make to Trustee Seneca's comment is, and John, let me know if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I believe going out of business sales are regulated by the state in some way. So they are permitted to have.
These aren't going out of business sales.
Okay.
These are sales that never end. Floor sample sale.
2
for 1. $250,000 winner. They like for 3-4 years.
Right. Yeah,
it gets
person
old.
still hasn't come forward.
Yeah, I'm holding off.
Any other
Great.
questions?
Thank you so much. No, that's it.
Okay.
The next one, if you're listening to this at home, you have to listen to this because this is a wonderful new business coming into Westmont. Number 10, Class 2 liquor license, Bakersfield Restaurant. Board to consider an ordinance increasing the number of available Class 2 liquor licenses by 1 to accommodate a liquor license request to issue from Bakersfield Restaurant LLC, doing business as Bakersfield Restaurant, located at 330 East Ogden Avenue. This is going to be a wonderful new upscale steakhouse. We can't wait for you to open.
Well, there's a presentation.
Thank you. Questions?
Did I take your thunder?
Questions?
Did I take your thunder?
That was everything. That's all we had.
Actually, I already saw a nice ad in the newspaper. It looks real nice.
It's wonderful.
We have some renderings. First of all, we have Craig Bernstein and Sam McDaniel. You might recognize them from Standard Market. Craig on the grill side, Sam on the market side. They are taking their knowledge and expertise across the street. From a background investigation standpoint, it was very simple for me because the same people that own Standard Market are the same people that own Bakersfield. So we do have some renderings, some pictures. I was over there today with Craig. We were going to take some pictures, but I think the renderings will do it more justice than the current condition of the restaurant. But they promise they will be open in roughly a month. So with that, I'll turn it over to Craig and have him tell you a little bit about the operation.
Good evening. My name is Craig Bernstein. I'm Director of Operations for our restaurants, which would include Standard Grill and soon-to-be Bakersfield. And I presented to you a work-in-progress menu. So some of the items that are on this menu will be on the menu when we open, and others will sort of be tweaked and revamped. Bakersfield will be sort of a sophisticated but casual restaurant. So very approachable for most everybody. As you can see from the menu, the price points aren't, they're approachable, and I think that that's sort of the overall theme of our restaurant. It's very approachable to everybody, and our aesthetics certainly are very inviting. And there's a couple of internal renderings that I'll put up for you to see. So that would be the entrance. So the entrance to Bakersfield is coming from the east side. And then right to the left, you'll see our bar. Directly in, we have a fully open kitchen, so you can see all the action taking place in the kitchen, much like Standard Grill. And then to the right would be our full dining room, as well as a beautiful kind of floor-to-ceiling glass wine room, which will showcase the wines that we have to showcase.
A lot of healthy stuff. That's why I'll be ordering the fried Oreos.
Yes. Well, you can get the ice cream on the side that it's served with. So this would just be a picture facing south, which is our dining room.
Nice.
Sort of this wine room, although everything's open, so it's not a private party event by any means. It's just sort of a different viewpoint from the guest experience. And then so that would be a photo of our bar, and I must be honest, it represents one TV, but there will be more. There will be two. So we'll have
sports bar.
Right, exactly. We'll have two TVs, and as you can see, to the north or to our left, that's that would be the patio. So our bar kind of walks out onto our patio, and Jim was there today, and it's much more along than Jim perceived this afternoon. So all of our kitchen equipment is in place, and our mill workers are putting the final touches on installing our booths, and our lighting's in place, and our bar is fully built out. So we are fully anticipating a certificate of occupancy around April 16th. So from April 16th through approximately May 1st, we'll do our training, and then we'll be ready to open.
Wow, great.
I have to ask you.
Sure.
Because I would hate to have somebody go in there and, eat $300 worth of food and then find out you don't take cash. Do you take cash?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. So we do take cash, take all major credit cards, and yes, we do.
Okay.
Excellent.
Just checking, because there were some surprises at this.
Will there be a service bar at the outdoor eating area?
No. So
All the drinks will come from within?
yes, so everything comes from within. There's actually two separate components, so two separate bar areas. One is a bar for sort of enjoying our menu in conjunction with drinking a glass of wine. And then we have a service bar, which is sort of an extension of our kitchen, which will make the drinks for guests in the dining room or on the patio, enjoying dinner on our patio.
Right. Looks really nice.
I have not had time hardly to eat today, and this is making me very
I
hungry.
know. I want that.
That's good. We came here to tease you just a little bit. So our store hours, our operating hours will be from 11 to 10, and then Friday and Saturday it'll be from 11 to 11.
Excellent.
Will the kitchen stay open that late?
Yes. So it's all about the food. I mean, food comes first.
Yeah, because there's very few places in Westmont that
Where you
stay
can get
open past 9. So
Yeah.
that's good.
And I was going to say, don't tell Sam that I said it's all about the food because he's our beverage director. But it's certainly about food and pairing it with great wines and great seasonal cocktails.
Well, and definitely connect with Oak Brook Hills Hotel. I was at an event there and met some people from out of town, and they were looking for a place in town to eat, and it was like 9:30 at night. I couldn't find any place for them. So, they need to know that you're going to be open that late.
It's a great point.
Yeah, you can have one of those open signs. Just make sure it's not flashing.
Yes, there will be no neon.
I keep looking for like Buffalo Burger or Elk, but I don't see
Buzz
it on there.
Burger.
Buzz.
To go with the Westmont,
Right.
Forget it.
Jam
I
burger?
don't know.
Forget it.
So no, I had buffalo and elk when I was away, and God, I don't even know. I think it was in Kentucky or something, and I liked it. And they said it's very, very lean.
Yeah.
And because I saw you have it in your stock, but you don't even cook it in your kitchen. You just sell the meat.
Yeah, we sell it from a retail perspective. So one of the nice things about our menu that you'll notice is there's only about 27 menu items, which gives us the ability to offer daily features and sort of verbalize them to the guest. So your point's very well taken. So
You have to contact me at the house. And let me know if you
right,
have
we'll
it.
send out a mass email that says elk burgers are coming.
Buffalo.
You can get it at Country House, too. They have that.
Yeah, they keep saying, but they're not in Westmont.
I don't know who
Maybe I
it
know
wouldn't
a
be as good.
restaurant. It wouldn't be half as good. Not half as good. Well, this is great.
We're good, yeah.
Do you want to talk about, do you have anything you need to add?
Good.
Okay.
We're going to have lots of good wines and great cocktails and some really exciting things. We're having the market as an example for what we do to both to our customers, but also to our vendors. We're able to get access to products that won't be sold anywhere else in Illinois because they really enjoy the way that we do things. So we'll have some fun spirits and beers and wines that no one else carries in the state. So
good,
excellent. It's going to be fun for everybody.
My husband had the nerve to come home the other night, and he had stopped at Standard Market and had wine and a cheese plate. And he was not popular with me. But he didn't invite me.
He's not supposed to tell you. He's supposed to say, I went grocery shopping.
Home some groceries. But he had to
You had a great open house. Oh, my God.
Oh, it was such a good turnout. It was fantastic.
I couldn't get in there. I drove around for I don't know how long trying to find a parking spot. It was like 2 or 3 blocks down. I'm thinking when I go with all these bags, and I don't think I'm going to make it to the car. So
yeah, it was a great turnout for us.
I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I hated to miss it. I was out of town.
Oh, you couldn't
We're
find a
going
parking spot.
to do another event, we think, for back to school, something along the same lines. So.
The media coverage has just been phenomenal. Every time I turn on the TV or read something, it's about Standard Market, so congratulations.
Thank
it's
you
wonderful.
very much.
We're very proud to have you in
are.
Westmont, your flagship store.
Thank you.
So good luck with the restaurant. It will be phenomenal, too.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for
Just
coming
so
in.
that you know, I was up in Glen Ellen and covering a village board meeting, and several of the people said, "You're a trustee down in Westmont. You have that cool place on Ogden, that's really, what's it called? What's it called?" I said, Standard Market. I knew what they meant, Standard Market. And they were like, yeah. So they're coming from far away.
That's awesome.
Yes, they are.
It's
Thank you
because
very
I've been
much.
spreading the word in Glen Ellen.
It's because Thank you. Good night. Number 11, local business promotion during events. Board to discuss methods to allow downtown businesses to promote themselves during Westmont special events like the Taste of Westmont, Westmont, and Cruising Nights, etc.
Well, Larry, if Larry's going to come to the podium, but I will jump in on this one. I asked that it be on the agenda because some downtown businesses had said, you know, you're always trying to get businesses to come into Westmont. Don't forget about us. We're here. We're loyal. We should be able to walk these events and pass out coupons. I talked to Larry, and Larry explained to me that especially for the Taste of Westmont, people buy their booze and they are not allowed to go around and pass out, you know, coupons and brochures or whatnot, advertising. Then there are the sponsors that pay various amounts of money for different, you know, places in the hierarchy of advertising, and their response would be, wait a second, you know, we paid $5,000 to be a sponsor, and these people are going around advertising for free. You know, what's the deal? So Larry was good enough to explain all this to me, and I agree with him. It would not be fair to those people who are spending good money to be a sponsor to be overshadowed or have competition from people who aren't paying anything and are just sending a couple employees out scouting. That said, then Larry was talking about a booth where they could put their advertising, and so there would be a display, and they can also be out in front of their business. You know, I know
Maybe
several
actually encourage them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
In the past,
several will have
we've
the
asked them
sandwich boards or extra tables and all of that. So me and my big yap, once Larry explained it to me, I agree with him. So I'm backing down on the request that they go around and.
Yeah, I know we've actually encouraged them to, you know, put something out in front if they want. You know, I know Vince Satori sometimes will have a special sandwich. That's fine. That's his business. You know, we've never discouraged that. Or, you know, a special whatever.
Now, I don't know about Cruising Nights. I particularly would not like it down by the market, but I don't know up by Irving. What do you tell me your thoughts on that? We didn't talk about that.
Well, I was interested. I've got a long list here of things that we kind of offer as promotional opportunities, especially for the downtown businesses. We try our best to partner with them. We realize that we're sharing the downtown. And so we've created really kind of a nice little list of opportunities for people to get involved. And hopefully to piggyback on the new sandwich board idea, one of our thoughts was to get a sandwich board and put it down in the French Market. And then any business that wants to can either pin their specials of the day down there. And then
that's a great idea.
And that can send them up to their business.
Not a little tiny one.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good, well, it's got to be 4 feet. We got to follow the code. It can't 8 square feet, but not taller than 4. No, right.
You could give a variance for something bigger for those events.
But that was a new idea that just recently came up for Cruising Nights. Cruising Nights is from 6 to 9, and we encourage every business to come out onto the sidewalk, set up a table, sell whatever they'd like, promote whatever they'd like, hand their items out. And we do send that information out to the businesses. We probably have 2 people that take us up on that offer on a regular basis, and then other businesses do it once in a while. What happens with a lot of the businesses is they're tight on staff. And so they're manning inside. It's hard to do both. But at least they have the opportunity to. For the Taste of Westmont, the same thing is true where we're invited to come out, set out a table, and however, we close things off at 6 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's just because of pedestrian egress. We know that at 6 o'clock it starts getting so packed that if we had tables on the sidewalks, it would be competition in terms of safety. Mm-hmm. And then also with Cruising Nights in particular, there's ordinance that says all the businesses have to abide by ordinance. And so if you can't put your table out next to, if you have a tree and a trash container or something, you have to, it's 4 or 5 foot egress, that 5 foot, that must be maintained. And the businesses are well aware of that. We send that promotion out to everybody. Something new that Trustee Fleming and I had talked about, and that was to add something onto our WSCC website, create an opportunity where any business can contact us and tell us what their hours are and or specials during our events, and we'll create a whole page that says visit our downtown businesses and add that information. The free tent is something that we actually give to the chamber. The DWA is a subcommittee of the chamber, and so it's up to the chamber to divvy that up. But last year, and I must say, no one gets a free tent because with special events, we need to be consistent with everybody. As soon as we give a favor to one organization or another, we'd never hear the end of it. So we don't do that for anybody except the chamber.
Okay.
And the chamber, divvies it up amongst the downtown businesses. The layout for the carnival, for the last several years, there were some challenges where there were some expectations that we had where the carnival was going to be set up and not block storefronts, but a couple of years that did get away from us. But last year we got right back on track, and I only heard 100% really good response that we did not block egress or even sight lines. And so that's the beginning of a lot.
Hey, Larry.
Yes.
You've probably already thought about this, but for example, with cruising nights.
Yes.
What if each night you spotlighted 2 or 3 businesses and said, okay, tonight's Cass Avenue business, Frame Makers, Karma, and Sweet Pea. Be sure to stop in there for a $5 off coupon, or whatever it is. And publish that. Say, this week we're spotlighting these businesses. This week, and if the business wants to participate, great. And if they don't, that's their choice.
Sure.
But, to maybe just name some of them by name,
and that's a good idea, and we do name quite a few businesses by name during our announcements. The PA system has not worked for a few years in terms of going up and down the street. We have some technological issues that need to be overcome. But right there by the KCs where we do have the sound system, we do announcements. However, we do our sponsors. And so those are people who are paying us $250, $500, and $1,000. So once again, it's that equity issue.
That makes sense. It does make sense.
If someone's paying us $500 and we're giving them the incentive of announcing their name at an event or hanging their banner,
you have to give them priority. You have to.
For us, we need to be able to justify consistency. And if we can't, then we lose our credibility as to why there's value to giving us money, which we absolutely need. I mean, we're working at a break-even proposition. The reality is we need a lot more money because I feel our staff works a lot of hours, and I'd call it volunteer wages. So, seriously. And our staff needs to be doubled in the amount of income they make.
And you know what? I'll be the bad guy here. At some point, these businesses have to take responsibility for their own performance. We can't do everything on their behalf. They can get creative and
Sure.
come up with specials and things that they can promote themselves on those evenings. And we've encouraged them to do it.
And we definitely do encourage things like that. For instance, I had an initial conversation with Sweet Pea, but I'm going to go back over there. But possibly encourage her, of course, to be a sponsor. But here she is, a children's clothing store. So maybe on Saturday afternoon, we'll have a fashion show. And that'll be part of our youth tent entertainment. So it's a way to be creative. I know I've talked with some of the salons about maybe we could make it entertainment where you come out and do a makeover for somebody or something. So, but once again, last times it's a staffing issue. People hear an idea.
They're mom and pop
They like the idea, but many people are strapped.
They don't have a lot of staff.
Sure.
And a lot of them are put off because they've lost their parking and stuff and have this massive stuff around, and if they can't be,
I take issue with that because every single new business, I specifically say to them, Thursday nights we have this.
I know that, but
they
I'm
all
saying
were
that
fine with it.
I like the idea of coming around the corner, now with it to try to get those businesses.
Right.
But I think it's nice that they can be somehow involved, not just have everybody standing in front and say they hope they stand, but to see if they can't be involved in something, whether it's a table or some part of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and good.
So if any other ideas come up, let us know. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Number 12, Kurt's ambulance amendment. Board to consider an
Are we
ordinance
taking
approving.
this off the agenda then?
Oh, yeah, I guess we would just take this
there's
off
nothing
and there's
to vote
nothing to
on
vote on.
Monday.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Larry, for putting the time into that.
Appreciate it. Number
Go ahead,
12,
Dave.
Kurt's ambulance amendment. Board to consider an ordinance approving an amendment to the Kurt's ambulance agreement. Acting Chief Weiss.
Thank you. For the last several years, we've gone back to Kurt's paramedic services and renegotiated the contract that we had originally negotiated with them. At our January 16, 2012 Public Safety Committee meeting, we advised the committee that we were going to do that again this year. We were successful again with Kurt's with lowering their contract for this next year by about $21,000. The new negotiated contract for 2012-13 will be $929,606 annually, or $77,467.12 monthly. The proposed cost increase for this contract is a 1.9% overall contract increase. We also were able to negotiate a few new things into this contract. On the agreement for the extension, underneath number 2, we were able to ask Kurtz to give their contract medics the same annual physicals that our POC firefighters get, because they're required to do the same thing our POC firefighters are to do. So they agreed to that, and they're paying for those physicals. They're working with Director Scala that runs our physicals annually, and they're following our guidelines. The other thing is that we asked them to require their contract paramedic firefighters to have the same certifications that our paid-on-call part-time POC firefighters had to have. And we did have some contract medics that did not, and we do depend on them to respond to those type of calls. And so they agreed to do that, and they are paying to send their contract medics to those classes and to cover their shifts on the ambulances. And I believe they also asked for another one-year extension. Attorney Ziminek, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I was reading something. I know we're talking about Kurt's.
They asked for another one-year extension.
Yes.
Did you have any comments from what you...
You know, I don't like the wording of that agreement, but because we've used it for so many years, I think we have our hands around what it means. I'm not going to try and change it again. You know, as far as the price change and the other benefits you described, everything looked fine. It's a little confusing when you try and read the term, because we have a term built in there. The only thing that's really changing is the pricing for this particular year. They want an additional year added, right?
Yes, correct.
And otherwise, the prices can increase up to 4% per year, but you've always been able to successfully, or your predecessor, negotiate those down.
Yes.
Yeah. No comments or changes to the agreement.
Great.
We recommend approval.
Cool. Questions, anyone? Great. Thank you. Anything else?
I got the next item.
Oh, you do? Yeah. You do, don't you? Intergovernmental agreement, Tri-State Fire District. Board to consider an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Tri-State Fire District in regard to maintenance and repairs of Westmont Fire Department's vehicles, apparatus, and equipment.
Yes, for the last couple of years, we've had an intergovernment maintenance agreement with the Lyle Woodridge Fire District. They have, and the reason we had that is because they have EVT certified mechanics. They no longer have EVT certified mechanics. So with conversation with Fleet Service Supervisor Phil Burnett and myself, we had to seek out to find another location. Because of our working relationship with the Tri-State Fire Department, we were able to recommend and suggest to them about entertaining an intergovernment agreement. You have that intergovernment agreement in front of you, and actually, because of our relationship with their senior staff, we were able to negotiate a much lower rate than what Lyle Woodridge charged us in the past.
Great.
Fleet Supervisor Phil Burnett has met their head mechanic and fully supports this recommendation and this agreement.
Good.
It's very similar to the last IGA that you signed with Lyle Woodridge.
Sounds good. Mm-hmm. Questions, anyone? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
14, Mosquito Management Program. Board to consider an ordinance extending the current contract with Clark Environmental Mosquito Management Incorporated for 2012 through 2014, and I think they're probably the only people that even provide this service.
How many applications supposedly?
How many different vendors are there?
No, how many applications?
There are 2, I believe, within it, but there's a provision for additional applications as necessary.
Okay.
As the packet mentions, we had a representative at our March 13th Public Works Committee, and Tom Kessler, and he explained to the committee that they have frozen the price once again. They've tried to be very sensitive to the environment, the financial environment that we're all dealing with. I mentioned in the board action sheet the contract and the proposal would be distributed. I believe that was done electronically. If it did not get done, I will make sure you get that tomorrow. I know we had copies of the proposal at the Public Works Committee meeting for the committee members to view. So I apologize if that did not get out, but that was supposed to have gone out last Friday. So I will make sure you have that before Monday. And the contract itself basically is structured after a model agreement that DuPage mayors and managers put together a number of years ago. There's really no changes in the terms of the contract itself.
Questions?
Are there any other companies that do this?
I think there's one.
There's one, maybe two, but
One that's really little, isn't it?
There is one, and there are others that we periodically hear from. The conference went through a real comprehensive review process several years ago and had a committee work on it. And we're very encouraged at the beginning of the process that there was going to be some real competition, but when it came down to experience and the licensing of the products and the things that were used and the capabilities of being able to serve multiple jurisdictions that happen to be adjacent to one another because the mosquito population tends to move. Clark, has been around an awful long time, and they do an awful lot of communities, so they're able to work very closely with the Illinois Department of Public Health in terms of monitoring the trap counts and making sure that communities in an area where they have a problem have the spraying done at the same time. So it really does help from a public safety standpoint. There are a number of mosquito abatement districts in the Chicagoland area that do their own work as well and have the equipment, but out here in DuPage County, it's done mostly by contract and mostly Clark.
Okay. Moving on, proclamation acknowledging Arbor Day. Board to consider a resolution proclaiming April 27th, 2012 as Arbor Day in the village of Westmont. Pretty routine. We do that every year. Number 16, Employee Assistance Program Perspectives. Board to consider an ordinance approving an agreement with the West Suburban Municipal Conference to contract with Perspectives, an EAP service provider. And we have Kathy.
Likes to sleep.
That's a long one.
Actually, I need to make a correction. It's West Central Municipal Conference.
Oh, not West Suburban, West Central?
That is correct.
Yeah. West Suburban is the funeral home.
Yeah, the packet is correct.
Or the vet.
The agenda is incorrect. It is West Central, which is actually an organization we already have a relationship with through our tree consortium, and they offer this service as well.
Yeah, last year it was actually suggested that we check into other EAP services, and so I solicited some information from other municipalities, and Perspectives was one that actually kind of rose to the top, and we had them come in last year, and then actually had them come in again this year because when they came in last year it was too late for the budget year. And we were really impressed with them. For an EAP, they just have a really much more comprehensive program. As I'm sure you noticed by looking at the information They have not only the counseling service, but they have the call center, the 24/7 call center. They have the internet access, which is called that Work Life Online. And they felt that the younger generation, and I still think the older generation too, goes to the internet a lot for information that they're seeking. And the types of information that they have out there is for like parenting, adoption, child care, disabilities, aging, elder care, child care, home improvement, home buying and selling, legal services, even moving and leisure. So, I mean, just a wealth of information on the internet that you can try to find information for. The other thing that really impressed me is that they have online training that our employees can take, 87 different topics. And then they also have certificates of completion. So once they take that training, they can print out a certificate of completion that can go into their personnel files. So I think that's just really great. The other thing that I think that you noticed is that there's a bunch of other municipalities, including IRMA, which is our risk management, our loss prevention company that uses them as well. The other thing is that there are a bunch of locations where our employees can go to. That was on the EAP locations. So, I mean, there was just no reason to not make the switch.
But thank you for looking into it. I really appreciate it.
So
It was something I remember you brought up.
I had brought it up
particularly in discussions with our Administration Finance Committee. So we were very impressed by this company.
Yeah.
They also service Downers Grove, Hinsdale, Oak Brook,
Wonderful.
a lot of our neighboring communities. So.
Right.
Resources for our employees.
More resources. And the other thing, too, is that once we make the transition, they're going to come in and do like an open enrollment type meeting with our employees so that they can explain all the different services that they provide. So I think that our employees have a misconception that the EAP is only when you're in a crisis situation and that you need to go for counseling. I don't think that they realize that there's all these benefits that they offer. So,
Kathy, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah.
You emailed this to me last week, and I apologize. I didn't look at the materials until this week. So I've got a couple of questions about how this is arranged. There's a consulting agreement that says West Central Municipal Conference is the client, and they have a consortium who are their customers, and that consortium is basically the municipalities, it looks like, and maybe other employers who have signed up to be part of this consortium to receive EAP benefits from Perspectives. And if we were to be part of this consortium, then we would get discounted or the rates set forth in this agreement, which would probably be better rates than if we were to contact Perspectives directly on our own and ask them to provide EAP services.
Correct. So
it's aggregation.
It's aggregation.
Yeah, we actually got pricing. We did get pricing both ways, and we decided, joining this intergovernmental cooperative, obviously makes sense when we get better pricing.
Sure.
So my question is, with the agreement itself, what is presented in the packet materials is this consulting agreement, which is between West Central
and Perspectives. We are still waiting to get the agreement. We have to get an agreement with the consortium. And it is a one-page document that we will be getting from the consortium. We have to actually join the EAP consortium.
So what we're really approving is joining the consortium and allowing the village to receive EAP services from Perspectives. We don't have that agreement yet. I imagine that's going to be pretty straightforward.
And just so you know, I don't know if Anne Marie let you know, but she did review the two documents from the consortium with Perspectives, and she said that those are fine, and she's waiting on us to get the actual agreement document that we're going to be signing with the consortium.
I did see her email.
Okay.
Glad she looked at it. I've got a couple of follow-up questions. The consulting agreement between West Central and Perspectives expired December 31st, 2010.
There was an addendum.
All right, the addendum's blank, at least in the packet here. It says Appendix A. Is that what you're referring
Yeah,
to?
I believe that the addendum continues that agreement.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I missed that.
No, that's okay.
But if we don't have that, then we can't vote on it Monday night till you look at the agreement to join the consortium, correct?
Be nice to see the one-page agreement.
Correct.
Number one. And two, I'll assume and I'll look for that addendum.
Yeah, no, it should be, you should have it. As I thought I included it. It was the amendment.
Maybe it's just not
to
in
the
my particular
consultant
packet.
agreement.
Maybe it didn't get copied for some reason.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'll make sure that
Term,
you get that.
it can be discontinued or terminated upon 60 days' notice. So there is the potential that West Central can terminate this, in which case we'd have to scramble to find a new EAP provider.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
all I have.
this amendment, it says under the terms of the agreement has been extended for 3 years from January 1st.
It's not in our packet either.
Kathy, will you have the one-pager by Monday?
Yeah.
You'll have the one-page consortium. So if you can get that to John tomorrow, can we still vote on this on Monday if you get?
If we can get the one-page agreement. If
Tomorrow
not,
or
then-
Monday during the day, will you be able to look at it, or do we need to postpone it?
Okay.
No, I mean, I assume this can be
Yeah, one
simple
pager.
one-page.
Pretty simple.
I can look at
Okay,
it.
so we'll leave it on for Monday. Does it need to be reworded in any way?
I'll double check.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for all your work on that.
All right.
Finance ordinance number 23, waive the reading. Number 18, purchase orders. Any questions?
It's a nice low number, isn't it?
We like that.
Yeah.
We like that. There is no request for executive session.
Yes, there is.
I'm sorry, there
Personnel.
is.
As
So
you
we will
reminded me,
entertain
yes.
a motion for the purpose of personnel.
Motion to adjourn the regular meeting and go into executive session for the purpose of personnel.
Second, Scott.
Roll call.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Senni?
Yes.
You have to declare us adjourned.
This meeting is adjourned to executive session.